Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. Listener discretion is advised. She's a singer-songwriter from Stanwood, Washington. She grew up in a musical family and has been singing ever since she could talk. She was a contestant on season 20 of The Voice as a member of Team Kelly Clarkson. And so far, 2023 has been a very busy year for my guest, Savanna Woods, without any sign of slowing down. I am so glad to have her on the podcast today, where we talk about all of these details and more, and we also reflect on the importance of the reciprocal energy that music provides. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Ladies and gentlemen, you might know my next guest from season 20 of The Voice. I learned about her long before that due to my literal brother from another mother sharing her live feeds on Facebook pretty much constantly. She was on Team Kelly Clarkson, gaining high praise from Nick Jonas and John Legend as well. Savanna Woods, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You have been busy this summer.
I've been very busy. I get busier and busier every year, but this summer's been crazy.
I was looking at your show posters just before dialing into this, and I was like cruising Instagram, and I'm like, she has not had a break whatsoever. What's it been like for you?
It's been awesome. I mean, I love the summer in the Pacific Northwest because the weather's gorgeous and it's mostly beautiful outdoor shows, and they're each different because I'm in a lot of different groups. But I promised I'd get myself in shape for the summer's crazy shows, and I didn't, which led to me to injure my neck. It's still going on over a week, and I'm still really injured. But luckily, I've had little pockets of 2 days, so I've been trying to lay low today, trying to heal up. But other than injuring my neck, the shows have been awesome. And yeah, it's super fun. I mean, best job ever.
A lot of my audience is going to know you from The Voice, but I think we need to go a little deeper than that, because I'm sure there's many layers. You know, just talking with Craig, how many music projects you've been a part of, how many music projects you're currently a part of outside of just the realm of Savanna Woods, solo artist. So without any further ado, why don't you introduce yourself and let's talk a little bit about your origin story, how you got into music and everything that came after.
Well, my name's Savanna Woods. I was born, and I'm still around in Stanwood, Washington, and I was born into a musical family. My dad, singer, performer, so he got me and two of my sisters, three of us grew up singing together. So I've been singing since I could talk. I've been writing. I think I wrote my first song at like the age of 4. It's been my whole life of performing and writing and singing. Kind of through schools, doing the choir stuff, musicals, just for the singing aspect. But it wasn't until I was probably, I don't know. I feel like I joined my first band probably around 19, and it wasn't until maybe the age of 20 or so, 20, that I realized it was something I could do as a career, because it was something that I was always just really naturally good at, not anything I like put everything into. It was just a natural talent I had. And you're also kind of raised in this society, kind of told that art is a hobby, not a career path, and that was something I remember hearing a lot of, like, that's your hobby, but you don't want to be living in a car, the starving artist, blah, blah, blah. Well, I tell you what, I feed myself real well.
Love it.
Yeah. I kind of I realized the only thing holding me back from being a full-time musician was just the belief that I could do that. So anyway, I put everything into music, and it's like a process. You're not just hopping right into it and full time, making great money. But I think that's with anything that you're passionate about. It's not about the money. Yeah, so just started putting everything into music year after year, had to have side jobs, but eventually that was kind of my goal, to where I just got so busy with music that I didn't need to do the other things. I started traveling a lot, the age of, I don't know, 20 as well. So around the same time, I just sort of like, F the previous system I've been a part of. I want to live, make each moment really count. I spontaneously went to Iceland when I was like 20, and that's actually what sort of changed my life. That came slightly before I decided to go full time into music, because I just felt a pull to go there, and I went, and something about the place and the experience and being alone in another country just woke me up to life and the potentiality of how I could live. And it was like, I am so done doing anything that doesn't feed my soul. I want to live, on the edge of creation and being a part of this whole thing and doing what I love. So I started traveling and doing music pretty much full time. I think that year alone, I saw 19 countries. I think I'm up to like 27 right now. A lot of return offenders. So traveling and music is basically my whole life. But performing, I could get bigger and bigger locally, but I hit the ceiling where it was like, how can I get to the next level? How can I pop my career up? I have to get in front of a lot of people's eyes and ears. And then I got an email from The Voice. It was like, do you want to try out? Blah, blah, blah. And it was during COVID time, so you could just do a virtual audition like what we're doing here. And I just sang 30 seconds of a song, and it was simple. So anyway, I decided to do that. And by this time I had known myself as an artist and developed my musical talent and skills a lot more, because actually when I was 18, I did randomly, I randomly tried out for The Voice just on a whim, and I hadn't been performing professionally at all. It was more just like, I know I'm a naturally good singer. We'll just see what happens. And I didn't even make it past the first round because in things like that, you have to have a niche. You have to know yourself as an artist. You have to know what you want to sing, where you want to go. At that point, I had no idea. I was just a kid and hadn't started this whole career process. So anyway, fast forward to COVID, tried out for The Voice, made it past the first round, second round, just kept passing through the rounds. And by that time, I have kind of unbridled confidence. It's like, that's the only way you get anywhere, knowing right. your talent. And it's not just talent. I work my butt off. And
speak freely.
I work my ass off. And, because there's a lot of talented people in the world, but not a lot of them have ambition. And so you have to have equal talent and ambition to really make it anywhere. And so at that point, I'm like, revved up, and it's like, yeah, for sure, I can do this. So I round after round, then I got the call. I was going to LA, which I was super excited about, because everything was like on the fence at that point. Is it going to be a virtual season? Because the season before was virtual from home. And That is not what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't get an audience, but I wanted to go have an experience somewhere else, I was already doing the live streaming thing, because I guess that is when I met your brother. It was during COVID. So before I even auditioned for The Voice, I started doing live stream concerts, because I feel like adaptability is the key to success. And if something happens, just roll with it, right. Instead of like, oh no, life will never be the same. It's like, damn straight it won't be the same. Now do something about it. A lot of musicians were just like kind of, what do we do? And so I started live streaming because I realized I could start hitting a global audience, more people than I would in my physical area. So I started meeting people, finding these groups on Facebook that I could go live, and that had like 300,000 people in them. So people like Craig and all these other people started finding me and connecting with me, and I started growing this awesome online audience, this like support system. It was so cool. And I started Patreon around that time. It's kind of like an insider's community way to support the artist. So I have this like Patreon family, the streaming family, and like I really only met Craig, I guess, like twice in person. But he's a huge part of my support system in my life. And so many of these online followers are, which is really funny. So this all kind of happened at the same time.
That's amazing. And that's a lot. Like, it's a lot in a short period of time, but I'm sure it feels like a lifetime in a lot of ways. Also, getting to know yourself as an artist, I want to kind of reflect back to that, because I think that's where a lot of people fall short. You know, commonly, and I'm sure Craig shared this with you, I spent a lot of time in the music business myself, and I do get that work ethic. Like, sometimes it's one of those things where talent will get you far, but talent without work ethic is pointless, you know?
Exactly.
So who are some people that inspired you when you were younger that kind of led to that inflection point that you had whenever you went to Iceland and decided, hey, I'm going to do this professionally?
It's a good question, because an interesting fact about me is I never really listened to music at all until about 3 years ago. So I grew up not listening to anything. I mean, maybe the occasional, like when I was little, like Britney Spears or something, when you're really small. But like my growing up years, I mean, there was a couple random, if friends would send me songs, but I listened to basically audiobooks and my thoughts. I have a very active mind, so that's
Sure.
loud enough. So I listen to a lot of talking things, podcasts and audiobooks and stuff like that. So I guess that helped in one respect for me to form a style of my voice that wasn't based on anyone else's voice. It's really just like what's coming out of me and fielding the reactions from other people, what people seem to like. And but of course I absorbed some stuff. Growing up, I think my mom listened to some like Norah Jones, Dido, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You know, Dad was more the older classics, and it probably had a subconscious effect on the songs that I choose to sing and things like that. It's a lot more of the older stuff. But yeah, as far as looking up to artists, and especially when I'm developing my career in my artistry, I wasn't looking up to anybody, but I'm inspired by everything I hear. So it's like I was inspired by everything and nothing at the same time, but nothing super in particularly. But in a different way, this is a little off the woo side, but it does have a big part to do with why I do what I do. When I was like around that age of 20 in Iceland and all that, I had this mediumship reading, and it was so crazy because you just started off like talking about my dead grandpa and like naming people, all these personal things, and then she went right to like that I have two sisters that I grew up singing with and blah blah blah, and kind of just dumped this on me that my purpose is to revolutionize the music industry, and I'm here to travel the world and play music and be a big part of integrating art, culture, spirituality, emotion. Like that's a big part of where our culture is going right now. And just all of that. And my jaw just dropped, because that's when I realized that it's just a belief holding me back. I was like, oh, I just needed to be told that this was possible. And another level to that would be I had some conversations in this reading with Prince, and I didn't know who Prince was at all. Like I had heard of the name, and I was like, sorry. And she's, he didn't ever listen to music either, he said. And it's a big part of like, we just get our kind of channeling straight from the source, the world, whatever it is. It's kind of this unfiltered. Anyway, so like since then, I'm really into like different guides and stuff with animal guides, but I also have like dead musician guides. And Prince has been a big one of that. Just little things to like, songs coming to you, articles, whatever. But right now, a big one's Amy Winehouse for me. So it's kind of funny. My inspirations from these musicians is not purely just the music they've put out. It's a lot of like their lifetime, but also their beyond lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I can appreciate. Now, I'm going to point out something that's incredibly ironic, but it's amazing. So your episode is going to be sandwiched between a paranormal investigator that I just talked to yesterday and a medium that I'm talking to next week. And the paranormal investigator and I yesterday, we were having a really in-depth conversation about creating the energy that you want in the world, like manifestation, self-manifestation through your own thoughts and your own beliefs. So to hear you talk about that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so serendipitous to have these three episodes in a row. So I absolutely love all of that. I know you said it's kind of the woo-woo side of things, but I'm all in. I'm all in, and I'm right there with you.
Well, great. Because, yeah, it's not just, that's so funny and ironic. Because it's a huge part of what I do. I mean, my life isn't just like, it's not like an entertainment, this like spiritual side of things. It's kind of like what you just said. Like, that's how I manifest my life, is through like visualization and, you know, belief and knowing. And you've got all these, you know, maybe metaphysical things beyond physical things.
Right.
But a lot of what I do comes down to kind of what the medium talks about. And I've done so much of my own personal research with books and, you know, how my universe works and how I can use the law of attraction and all these things to my benefit. And it's like, take a look, guys.
Right.
It's like the proof's in the pudding. It takes some time, but I am doing, like, there's not one thing in my life that I'm doing that I don't want to do.
Right.
And that, I think, how life should be. Like, we shouldn't feel like we're slaving away at our lives. We all have something beautiful to give to the world, but it takes courage and guts to show the world.
Yes. Yeah. I really think for all the negativity that's put out in the world these days, especially the past few years, I think there's a heightened collective consciousness right now, unlike anything that there's ever been in society. And as somebody that performs to audiences and you're constantly connecting with people, you're putting your art and giving your art to these people. How do you receive that energy back?
That's a big part of the performing aspect, is receiving. It's an energy exchange. That's why, like, if I'm playing to a bar and nobody's listening, that's my job. I'm there to do it. But it's so different to where, you know, even if one person is focusing on you, because you are feeding off of each other. And right. I got that even out of live streaming. I felt it, like when I go live and you can see how many people are on, I can feel that energy exchange. And it's something so beautiful, because I don't just do it for me. I do it for what what I can give to people. And it's purely an exchange. And there's this term called collective effervescence. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's where it's sort of like if you put a bunch of grandfather clocks in a room, they all start to sync up. Similarly with our brain waves. So, you know, if you're at a big stadium watching a game or, you know, watching a show, you have this group of people, you're all in the same thing, focused on the same thing, and your brain waves start to entrain with each other's based on what the performer is giving you. So I basically am in charge energetically of a whole room of hundreds of thousands of people. So what I am giving out is what they are in training with. So I have a big responsibility to, you know, be in the moment, be outputting joy, healing. Even if it's a sad song, it doesn't matter, because it's basically people coming together and not feeling alone and realizing they're not alone, that they're a part of something bigger. And it's just, you get into this whole big pot of oneness, and it's really awesome. And yeah, that's why it's so nice. I'm very like raw with my emotions when writing. If you're sad, just fucking say you're sad. Right. Just say it and say how it feels. And people connect with that, because it's like, it doesn't make them feel sad, or they'll be like, oh, I felt that too. That makes me feel less alone in my feelings. And it's a step toward healing. And by me getting it out, it's a step toward healing. That's the whole creative process and receiving process. It's an exchange.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And, you know, I can speak on my own behalf, and maybe it's a narcissistic trait for myself, but I remember when I was doing the music thing, and I always tell people the best shows were always obviously this is a duh moment, but like the best shows were when the most people were there and the most people were interacting. It's like all my bad shows, I never played a great show in front of an empty bar, you know. But I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't putting forth that same amount of energy. It's just how I felt it in return, you know, talking about that reciprocation.
Well, it takes a lot more of your energy to perform to an empty room or a room where they're not paying attention, because you have to give more than both of you being lit up. Yes.
So let's talk about some of the current projects you're working on, because you have a lot of irons in the fire. Eden is your rock band project, if I understand this correctly.
Yes, Eden is my rock band project. It's kind of like rock, blues, pop. It's a little bit, I don't know. I would say it's my best, highest quality performing band. We do a lot bigger stuff. Yeah, so when I play with Eden, it's the same 4 musicians every time. I perform a lot under Savanna Woods as well, but if you're coming to see me, you don't know what you're going to get. I'll usually put on my show poster like duo, trio, or full band. But sometimes in that duo, it's, you know, me and a cajon, a box drum, or cello, or piano, saxophone, electric guitar. Trio, same deal. It's like I kind of pick the musicians for the gig. You know, what fits the venue, what fits people's schedules, what they're able to pay, all sorts of things. So within my name, I have a lot of different formations. And then I also am in a jazz group, sort of like jazz is a broad term. But we just went in the studio and did a few songs. We're doing it backwards to where we're recording before we're performing. So we just recorded a few songs and then we'll get out there. We've been working together for quite a bit, making music. We just put out our first album with Eden. Love that. It sounds really good. It's 7 originals and Zombie, which is people have been wanting to hear for a while. Stream it, because that was my audition song on The Voice.
Right.
And kind of that's my cover that everybody's got a song. And people are like, always play Zombie. That's kind of like my song. So now it's out. Oh, and I also just put out music of my own. I'm doing a lot this year. I just put out a single last month and I'm about to put out another one. I have another album ready to come out of my own. So a lot of music coming out this year, but I'd say like 3 main genre groups.
Sure.
And they all can intertwine, just different feels.
So are you handling a lot of the business end of this on your own as well, on top of performing?
Yes. As far as I do basically everything except for, luckily, so my band Eden, they were a group before I came in. Their singer moved and they needed somebody to fill in for a gig. I filled in. We ended up, falling in love, creating a new brand. But they had already had a booker who helped with a small portion of the bookings, but she gets us into some places that I wouldn't be able to, and it's been so nice. So that was my first taste of delegation.
Right.
Because I am open to delegating, but the hard thing in the music industry is it's like, where do you find these people? It's just like through connections and knowing people. Like, for example, on my tour, I'm playing at a place in Omaha, Nebraska, because I asked Craig asked you asked somebody else. Like, it's all word of mouth,
Yeah.
and it's who you know and friends. And so to me, music's all about connections. And that's why I love having like my online connection and in-person connection. I don't even remember what you just asked me.
No, it's a symbiotic relationship. It is about who you know, who they know, and who they know.
Mm-hmm.
And like working those in the right way and maintaining integrity too, because it's no secret that you can't trust everybody in the music industry. So you have to kind of have them shields up while you're doing it at the same time. But so long as you're working in the interest of the art, you tend to land on your feet in the right ways.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'd be able to feel it, but we'll see. I haven't even met many people who I could even work with. Like, I don't know what it was like, musicmanagers.com. Like, there's not places you can just find these people. So that's what's been hard for me. So I do everything myself, but I also am kind of going about it in a way where, yeah, art first. And when these people show up, it's the right time and there's not much else I can do, but to be careful with who I share my rights with. Because with The Voice, you're signing away a lot of your rights, but I knew what I was doing and it was an exchange as well with them.
Yes.
You know, I'm exchanging my momentary freedom, musical freedom, for mass exposure. So we were each getting things from each other. That's different. If you win The Voice, that's different.
That's where I was going to go with it next, is how did the process of being on The Voice kind of change your perception or your perception of that trajectory?
It basically reinforced what I'm already doing and that I love what I'm doing and I love feeling a little bit more independent and in charge of things. Hollywood was fun, don't get me wrong. It's just a whole nother game. It's a whole other world there and a lot of legalities and but it also showed me what I need to get better on. And like, if I am going to be getting to the level I know I'm going to be getting to, I'm going to need lawyers and managers and people to help with these things, because it's crazy to see how many parts go into making this big machine work. Like, The Voice is huge, and there are layers and layers and layers of employees, of producers, and so many things. That's kind of what you have to do. You have to start building a team. So I know I don't want to like be all that Hollywoody. It's fun in little spurts, but it's kind of a lot. But I also know that I need to find somewhere in the middle. You know, the grassroots thing gets you only so far. It'll get me so far, but like even right now, I'm running my wheels off. I am so just between performing and booking and managing and promoting and like, you know, recording and getting like, there's so many little tiny things to make each thing happen. And somehow I'm making it all happen, but at the sake of my body being injured, I keep getting like sick and hurting myself. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to start building a team.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
Maybe
but
so.
I'll tell you, one thing that I admire about what you're doing and kind of talking about your story, specifically in the solo artist aspect. You talk about how it's a duo or trio or like different configurations of instrumentation. That's very akin to what somebody like Prince would do, and taking control of their artistry. And watching shows like The Voice, sometimes they try and paint you into a certain box or a certain perception of you're this type of artist or you're this type of artist, to where you're kind of every type of artist. You have a lot of irons in the fire. So I appreciate the fact that you learned a lot about the business aspect of yourself.
I knew what was going on, and I knew I was kind of a pawn in the game, and we used each other. I knew that they needed a rocker girl. They didn't have one of those. I know people go crazy for the rasp. So, you know, I tried to make myself marketable, and I was fine to go down that path. And I developed my voice a lot, and a lot of people are like, oh, they made you into such a rocker. It's like, yeah, who cares? I don't care. That's fun to rock out. And then I know that's not all that I am. And I know I have a diverse voice, and I like doing it all, really. And I was okay to give up some of my creative freedom. You know, they pick your songs, they dress you, they do everything, and whatever. It's just it's adaptability.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, you know, with all of these things that you have going on, what is your goal 6 months from now?
I'm booked out for the next, I don't know, through October fully. So with live performances. So on that level, gaining a lot more exposure, connecting with more people locally and globally, but putting out albums and just basically keep grinding for the next 6 months, because I don't know where that puts me month-wise, but I'm going to basically be performing my butt off, getting all this stuff done, and then hitting the road October for probably a 5-week cross-country tour. And then I'll probably maybe go to Europe. I usually get really busy and and then I run away to Europe and take a little short little sabbatical. But with 6 months, I mean, just popping up to the next level, I really noticed my band Eden gaining a lot of traction performance-wise, and I'd like to find people to help me with promoting and marketing in the next 6 months. That's a big thing too. With putting out so much music, it's really helpful to have somebody who knows that level of the industry a lot more as far as getting your music heard and having the time to do it, sending it to radio stations, getting it playlisted on streaming stuff, like sync placements, all these things. So I guess in the next 6 months would be starting to build my team a little bit more to get my music heard, and honestly just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm killing it and I'm having a really fun time.
Yes.
And things seem to be just like taking off on their own. So it's like, I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and see where we go here. Because I notice the more I try to control it, the more uncomfortable it is. At this point, I feel like this train's driving itself.
I love that. So I was going to ask, do you celebrate those small victories, and do you feel those small victories after every single accomplishment? Like almost like a I've leveled up moment? I do. And it's exciting every time. Like just the other day, I just opened my phone and happened to see my album went live, online. That means the whole world can hear it. And it's like, oh, that's so exciting. And recently I got to perform. I was asked to open for Dermot Kennedy, who is a huge Irish artist, and he was touring the North America, and he's really big right now. And I was asked to open for him at the WAMU Theater, which is the largest venue in Seattle. It's like attached to the Seahawks Stadium and really huge. Anyway, that was so exciting. That was kind of like The Voice. Like each time these little things pop me up, it's like, oh, it's so exciting because you can know it. I can visualize it all I want and see it and be it. But when it's like, oh, you get to do this now for real. Each time I level up, it's like, it's really exciting. And I definitely celebrate it. I had a single release party the other day, and so many people, friends, family came to support. And yeah, all the little victories are really exciting, and that's the part of the journey, man. Yes. Every turn, it's like so fun and exciting, and who knows what's next. Yes. So what advice would you give to your younger self if you had a chance to talk to her right now?
Don't try to be like anybody else. Just own what you like and what you want to do. But basically, I guess just stay true to yourself and don't be so, what's the word? Not self-judgmental. There's a better word than that. Self-critical?
Yeah, critical. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be so critical. And I don't know. Childhood's hard. Childhood's hard. I'll just tell her, it gets better.
My infamous wrap-up question is always interesting because everybody from different walks of life gives me a different answer, and I love it every time. What advice do you have to make the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today?
The most simple answer is love more, but it's like spend more time doing what lights your soul on fire. Realize how valuable of a resource time is, and where you invest your time, in the places that light you up and, make you feel love and others feel more loving. Just more. It's really just about time for me. Where do you spend your time? Don't waste your life away. Do something that makes you happy, because that most likely is going to make other people happy too, which makes the whole world better.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find Savanna at savannahwoodsmusic.com. Check her out on Spotify or whatever streaming platform. This has been awesome. I am glad we got to connect.
Me too. Thank you for having me on.
Oh my gosh. And even more so, I'm glad we're friends. The world's a much better place with you in it.
Likewise. Oh, shucks. Right back at you.
Once again, I want to thank my friend Savanna Woods for doing the podcast. Please search her out, Savanna Woods Music, on all forms of social media, or visit her www.savannahwoodsmusic.com. If you're being generous with the follows, make sure you follow Caught on the Mic on all social media platforms: Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and the very rarely ever used Twitter. You can also find me at www.caughtonthemic.com. Click in the upper right-hand corner. Look at past episodes. You will be able to listen to every episode of Caught on the Mic produced by simply clicking a picture. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. I am Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you.